Good evening, everyone. This is Praveen Vishwanathan, Business Development Manager for JMA Aerospace Private Limited. I hope everyone is staying at home and testing negative. I did like to welcome you all to our webinar series, and today our distinguished speaker, Mr. Leo Peter Charles, will discuss SVAMITVA, a mapping project by the Survey of India. I did like to thank Dr. K. Gopinath, Principal of STM College of Engineering and Technology, for granting us permission to hold the webinar, as well as Dr. Archana Nandivibor, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, for taking the initiative to host this informative webinar in their college. I turn over the session proceedings to Ms. Bhagyashree Bhatt without further ado.
A very good evening to everyone. I hope everybody are staying safe and doing good. There is this beautiful quote which says, "Your wings already exist. All you have to do is fly." With these lines, let's just get into today's sessions. On behalf of management, principal, HOD and staff, I request everybody to please mute their mics. On behalf of management, principal, HOD, and staff, I welcome you all for this college webinar series 2021 on the topic SVAMITVA, a scheme under Survey of India. A bold step by India. I request everybody to please mute their mics. I welcome you all on the College Webinar Series 2021 on the topic SVAMITVA, a scheme under Survey of India, a bold step by Indian government, hosted by JMA Aerospace Private Limited in collaboration with Shri Dharmasthala Manjunatheshwara College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. This webinar is live streaming on both Zoom and YouTube. Firstly, I would like to extend my gratitude on behalf of all the students to our principal, Dr. K. Gopinath sir, and the organizers for this webinar. It's my pleasure to welcome our speaker, Sir Leo Peter Charles, founder and managing director, JMA Aerospace Private Limited, for sharing his valuable time with us. A warm and hearty welcome to each and everyone joined here. Now, I request Ms. Raksha Udpi to introduce our speaker of today's webinar.
Uh, Good evening, everybody. I'm Raksha Udpi, and I'm really glad that I got this opportunity to introduce to you all Mr. Leo Peter Charles, the speaker of today's webinar. Mr. Leo Peter Charles is an avid aero modeler and a drone platform evangelist. He has a bachelor's degree in aeronautical engineering from MVJ College of Engineering. He's also a serial entrepreneur who has the experience of having startups in the IT, hobby retail, and UAV training industry. Mr. Leo has trained more than 5,000 students in aero modeling in his career spanning 6 years now. He has also had the opportunity of training more than 100 drone pilots for the drone industry who are now employed in more than 15 companies. He also is an aerospace consultant for various academic institutions and aerospace companies. Mr. Leo founded JMA Aerospace Private Limited in December 2019. Fondly called JMA, it is India's first aerospace ecosystem startup whose primary purpose is to assist the aerospace industry in scaling up. JMA is an evangelist of the aerospace industry, especially the drone ecosystem, and strives to link the dots to complete the picture. JMA has worked tirelessly to raise awareness, provide infrastructure support, test site access, skilled aerospace workforce, business solutions, investment access, government licensing, and foster industry academia collaboration. JMA has partnered with EVA from Germany, Vector 3D in Australia to bring cutting-edge aerospace technology to India. JMA so far has conducted more than 200 workshops, professional talks, webinars, and seminars in numerous top institutions, colleges, and organizations to help given uh,
Participants, please mute your mics.
Continuing, JMA has partnered with EVA from Germany, Vector 3D in Australia to bring cutting-edge aerospace technology to India. JMA so far has conducted more than 200 workshops, professional talks, webinars, and seminars in numerous top institutions, colleges, and organizations to help give an insight into the aerospace sector with a particular focus on drones. JMA is also a member organization of the Drone Federation of India and actively participates in regulatory framework discussions. Thank you, one and all. Over to you, Bhagya.
Thank you, Raksha. Now, I would like to request our speaker to take over the session.
Thank you, Bhagyashree, for that. Good afternoon. I think it's almost evening now, so good evening, everyone. It's indeed a pleasure to be talking to you. We've been doing these webinar series for quite some time to help people understand the potential drones possess and then how they could rapidly transform lives. Kindly excuse, I'm unable to switch on my video because there's no light here. One of the drawbacks from working at home. So let's go ahead. It's a very interesting topic because once the pandemic was over, this program, the SVAMITVA program, was really what helped drone companies scale, and then it was the start of large-scale government procurement of drones as well as drone-based services. And it's really interesting at the scale at which it was operating. While I was CEO of Garuda Aerospace, we also bid for the same. Since now I'm no longer with Garuda Aerospace, but then I think the results are still awaited from the latest tender that was out in the end of the last year. So given that this truly is a stage where drones are transforming how survey and mapping happens. Yesterday we had another good news where National Highway Authority of India has made drone video recording of highway construction as well as survey and mapping using drones mandatory. And then we also had the Haryana government declared that they will have a new drone coordination center for getting all the drone-based survey projects sanctioned and approved. So it's an interesting time to be in, especially if you're in the civil engineering segment, because I think most of your total stations might go away at some point of time. And drones will take up that or are taking up the position of that. So yes, let's take a look at it. Next slide, please. So let's take a small look at the introduction and different types of drones so that we have a very good basic understanding, and then we'll see what's drone-based mapping and survey is, and then we talk about the SVAMITVA scheme and the participants of the scheme and what the scheme entitles and how it's going to change rural empowerment and put money into the hands of rural entrepreneurs to start, build, and scale their rural enterprises. Next slide, please. So what really are drones? So we have a conception or a misconception that anything that is flying and being remotely controlled is a drone. Not really. A drone can be any vehicle, be it in the air or land or even water or even submerged in water, which is remotely controlled or autonomously flying, is categorized as a drone. So Now, where we deal with is the unmanned aerial vehicle segment. So the UAV segment is to do with drones in the air and its application. So there are three major parts to the unmanned aircraft system, as we call it, or unmanned aerial system, the UAS system. That's the vehicle that's flying. Then you have the ground control station, like how you see the guy holding here, the transmitter. And that's the ground control station or the remote. And then the pilot also forms a part of the ground control station. And you have the command and control link that controls that is used to control the drone and also receive or send information from the ground control station to the drone and vice versa. And drones today have been literally been used everywhere, right from simple photography on planet Earth to advanced photography on planet Mars. We've got multitudes of applications. I think the list at this point of time is at 200 applications. And it's basically what your mind can think of. So I have this common saying where I say drone applications are limited by human imagination. So the more vividly you can imagine about the application of a drone, I think that can also be made a reality. So the latest in that fancy is drone soccer, where they've made a soccer game using drones. So I think it's just limited by human imagination truly. Next slide. So these are the type of drones that are there, like the classification of them. Predominantly, it started with the aerostat, but then I'll start from the fixed wing. So fixed wing drones are more like aeroplanes. The advantage is they can fly to longer distances and have longer endurance. And if in case there's a motor outage or anything, you still have the capability to glide. The only disadvantage is either you will have to hand launch it, or you'll need a runway, or you'll need a catapult for it. And the same thing with landing. You will need a landing strip for it, but in some cases they have modified to catch it on a thin string and all of that, like in the case of zip line. Then we have the rotary wing. In the rotary wing, we have the single rotor or the helicopter, and then the multi-rotor drones. The single rotor, as you can see here, it looks like a helicopter, or is a helicopter actually. And the advantage is the capability to vertically take off and land. You don't need a vast amount of runway for it. Just a space big enough to as the drone itself, and then you can take off and land. It also has the capability to hover, and it's more agile and maneuverable, and that's one of the very good advantages of the single rotor system. Then comes the multi-rotor, more stable platform that is required, where your sensors are quite sensitive to vibrations and all of that. Also, you can carry a lot heavier payload on that. And third part is if you have like 6 rotors or 8 rotors, you can always, if one rotor fails, you can always land the system. You can build the algorithm for the flight control like that to land, except for the, even now, even in a multi-rotor, a quadcopter with 4 rotors, if one propeller stops, there's a 3-rotor landing algorithm also available. So, and generally the multi-rotor has even number of rotors apart from the tricopter. So these three, the fixed wing, the single rotor, and the multi-rotor, form the basis of the drone classifications. Then we have the hybrid VTOL, which is a fixed wing with a multi-rotor configuration attached to it. So basically, it can take off and land like a multi-rotor vertically and then hover before it takes forward flight. But while flying, it flies like the fixed wing. The advantage, they've combined both the advantages of the multi-rotor and the fixed wing into the hybrid VTOL, where the hybrid VTOL has the vertical takeoff and landing capability, but then the endurance and range of a fixed wing. Then the most interesting part is the ornithopter, or the flapping wing drone, which flies like a bird. The one that you see here might look like the same mechanism in the movie Uri, if you've seen it. This bird is now used on large farms to scare away other birds, so that crops are not damaged, or they also use it at airports to scare away birds, so as to avoid bird strike. And this is designed to look like a predator bird so that the smaller ones always move away. And aerostats basically work on the concept of buoyancy. They have helium filled in them, and then since it's lighter than air, it keeps floating. It also has the capability of long endurance. It can stay in the air for a very long time. As concerned with speed, it's not very fast, but then if you need to have a surveillance setup for very long time, then aerostat is the device for you to go to. Next slide, please. So what's drone-based mapping and survey? So the process of creating maps and the process of creating reference points for in terms of elevation and all of that, that being the process of survey, can be done with various methods. The latest is the drone. You can use satellites to do it, you can use aircrafts to do it, and you can also use drones to do it, apart from the terrestrial method. Now, what drones do is they click pictures. So the camera faces downwards, and then they click pictures. And these pictures have GPS latitude and longitude reference on them. And these images are stitched on a software to create the map. Now, the advantage also with it is, depending upon the focal length, you can also estimate the depth of the image, and based on that, you can also create various three-dimensional properties to understand volume and all of that stuff. So that is also another advantage. And with an oblique camera position, may say in 45 degrees, you can also create full 3D images of structures and objects of interest. And the best part is the entire process is autonomous. Without differential GPS, you will get accuracies above 10 centimeter. And with differential GPS of either RTK or PPK, that's real-time kinematics and post-processing kinematics method, you can get accuracies up to 2 to 3 centimeter per pixel. And the basic drone that started off with all of this was DJI Phantom, and today we have many systems that are made in India itself available for the same. Next slide, please. So this is a simple example of how it's done manually, and then how it's done using a drone. This is for a site excavation. So initially what happens is, before they excavate the site, let's say a mining site, a surveyor will need to go and then find all the elevations and all of that, and then mark those locations. Or if your excavator has a GPS positioning system inbuilt, then you will have to give them the geofence reference, and the excavator will then dig in that location. These are for large scale operations. And then surveyor has to come back to the site and then survey the excavation work for reports. Now, how does this happen with drones? You can just hire a drone survey company. They will just come to the site. The drone will finish, let's say 10 square kilometers. 10 square kilometers is possible to be completed in 10 hours. So that will take about 2 days time. But in manual method, this almost will take even longer than that. And apart from that, then that data is extracted and then stitched and given to the surveyor to understand what the 3D model will look like. That 3D model can be sent to the excavator for the georeference, how much needs to be dug, and what are the points, and all of that data can go to them. And this is all of this is digital. Nobody has to go in physical and give that. And the field operator can take a picture with their photos itself. I think the iPhone now comes with LiDAR as well. So you can take pictures with your phones and then send it to the main surveyor's office for post-processing to understand how much of the excavation has happened. So all of this is now completely digitized. Otherwise, there would be a paper process that will come somewhere in between. Now, because of use of drones and high-speed internet, you can the entire process is automated. So this is how it's done. Now, before they go survey the site, you can just, so what the drone operator receives is something called as a KML file. You can just open your Google Maps and you can create KML files. You can select any area and right click and create KML file. This file is then sent to the drone operator for completing the surveying and mapping process. Next slide, please. So just a small reference of what is the difference between manual and drone surveying. So the drone is a very small device. It's on a backpack. You just need one person. Or if you're using PPK or RTK systems, it's just two people who will need to go to the location. And you can basically take these systems on a flight. So you can reach any location with an airport within a day and away from an airport maybe in 2 days. Second is data collection time. Let's say you have 10 square kilometers. That will generally take 1 to 2 days, given the weather is right and all of that. But data collection in manual method for 10 square kilometers is going to be really long. It will be more than a week. And then you have the delivery of file. So once the data is collected, it immediately goes for post-processing. And depending on the size of the data, the processing time is decided. So a 10 square kilometer should roughly take about a day in post-processing, and then creation of all the files should take another day. So you can finish everything within 5 days time, and that is even faster. Now we have even faster methods to get it done in even shorter spans of time. So, and it's still cheap. It's cheaper than manual survey, and that way it becomes more economically efficient as well. Next slide. So let's just take a look at how mapping is done using data. So this is the data amount of data or different types of data you can collect for different survey purposes. Let's take a look at how it's done exactly. Next slide, please.
So we can see a live feed of the photos that it's taking here. The drone is moving along this path here. And if at any point I need to take control, I can hit the switch here to a different mode and then manually pilot it back. Just for safety, I do need to keep an eye on it, make sure nobody gets underneath it. It's going 28 miles an hour now. All right, and it wraps it up, and I guess it'll probably, yeah, so now it'll draw a line back to the return point where it started.
Okay.
The drone will automatically land roughly where it took off. It was pretty close to the tree. But sometimes it lands 10 or 15 feet away. Ah, shit, I'm gonna have to take control. Be sure you take off from a big, flat area. It doesn't need to be in the area you're photographing. Using your computer's memory card reader, upload your images to dronedeploy.com. Then wait a few hours while they process it. When your map is ready, Drone Deploy shows your higher quality 2D map overlaid on satellite maps. Click 3D and then double-click the middle of the map to make it easier to navigate. Drag your mouse to rotate it or hold the Shift key while dragging to move the mouse around. Use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. There are some settings you can adjust to see more about how the model was built. Gradual elevation shift should look great, but the sides of buildings will look like a melting nightmare. Flying your drone lower improves the quality, so change the elevation. But if you want to get the best quality for buildings, manually fly your drone after you've done the Drone Deploy automated routine, and take dozens or hundreds of lower altitude pictures with the camera angled diagonally rather than pointing straight down. If Drone Deploy flies it at 200 or 300 feet, you want to come down lower, like 100 feet, 50 feet, even like 25 feet, and tilt the camera more towards the building so you can see the side of the building. Then just move it to the side and rotate around the building and snap lots and lots of overlapping pictures at different altitudes and different angles. You can use the orbit feature in the DJI Go app to circle a building while manually snapping overlapping photos. To get images of this backyard, I kept the device stationary, but rotated it, spun it slowly while taking photos. Overcast days provide soft, even light without hard shadows and generally make the best 3D models. If you must fly on a cloudless day, fly when the sun is high in the sky to minimize shadows. If Drone Deploy can see the bottom of a body of water, it will be able to map the depth. You can use that model to calculate the volume and depth of a pool or lake. You have to subscribe to the higher level option at Drone Deploy, so you have to pay a little.
So here you could see how it is done. So initially they take a satellite map and then draw the grid lines on which the drone has to fly over the area of interest. You can there are different types of grids you can draw to make the map more accurate. And then you just say take off on the app, and the drone flies itself over the area of interest, captures those photos. If you want 3D images as well, then you will have to capture photos in 45 degrees, so you can choose that option. But mainly in surveying and mapping, 3D 45-degree oblique pictures are not required. So they will just have the camera 90 degrees pointed downwards, and that's called a nadir image. And those images are then collected, put into a software like Drone Deploy, where it is stitched together. So how they don't get gaps in between photos is when the drone flies, it takes pictures so that the previous picture and the latter picture overlap on each other, so that you never find those gaps between pictures. So we have forward overlap and side overlap. So these help create a one continuous congruent map that will have no gaps or holes in it. And later those images, those maps are taken, and whatever is required as an output is given. So you can have digital elevation model, digital surface model, contours, volumetric analysis. In all of these data, the orthomosaics and cloud point, there are a lot of outputs. So you can have all of those, and then whatever the client requires, you can deliver it to them. And these are few of the companies globally that manufacture or provide services for mapping, like how Alti, Wingtra, Delair, Aerobotics, they all make drones for mapping, and then Terra drone, Equinox drones, and all of them use these drones for services. Next slide, please. So the SVAMITVA scheme is a really long name. I think they came up with the word first and then the name after that. And this is an initiative by the Ministry of Panchayat Raj and being held by the Survey of India. It's an organization under the Ministry of Science and Technology to help create maps of the Abadi region in a village. The Abadi region is basically the settlement area in a village, the non-cultivated land where people have their houses. Next slide. So SVAMITVA stands for Survey of Villages Abadi and mapping with improvised technology in village areas. So that's a really long name for this scheme. The abbreviation is easier, and it was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister of India on National Panchayat Day, 24th of April 2020. The Ministry of Panchayat Raj is the nodal ministry for the implementation of the scheme. So they have taken the help of Survey of India to complete this process. India has about 6.6 lakh villages in which they will have to map the Abadi region. Now, the aim of this program is to provide digital land records for the house or landowners in the villages, which right now is with the village panchayat. And these digital land records will help them to get loans and other financial assistance for any ventures or enterprises they are looking to start. So that way it will also kickstart the rural economy. And it also looks at providing record of rights. Now, the problem with having documents in the village panchayat is it sometimes gets lost. The document maintenance is bad, and sometimes it can also be forged, and you might lose land. And then fighting for land in courts of India takes a very long time, by which by that time you would have lost even some more money before you could regain it. So to prevent all of this, this will also provide them the original proof of how this land belongs to the exact landowner. And then they can also use this same document, as I said before, to take loans. So initially, the pilot project started at around 200 crores to launch, to cover 2.3 lakh villages. And this will be completed, or is estimated to be completed by 2025. But then COVID has been playing some havoc in this timeline. Next slide, please. So as I said, 6.62 lakh villages in the country will be covered. There are 6 pilot states in which the program had started: Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and Uttarakhand, approximately covering 1 lakh villages. And then later they wanted to start Rajasthan, Rajasthan, and a few more other states which are larger states, so that it could finish the large part of the job. And the Survey of India, the organization that is handling all of this work under the direction of the Ministry of Panchayat Raj, is working with the drone companies to get it done. Now, why are they not using satellite images? Is because the accuracy of satellite images is not lesser than 20 meters max. So let us say your house is being mapped by a satellite image, and then by error 20 meters goes to your neighbor. So that will become a huge dispute, and hence they are using drones. Drones can cover about 5 villages in a day, but if you wanted to do this manually, that would never be possible, because if it was possible by now, it would have been done manually. So this problem, to handle this problem, the Survey of India is using drones. And here the Survey of India is very particular about what types of drones they want to use. They are looking for drones with capability to operate with differential GPS setup, that is both RTK and PPK. Now, how global positioning system works with satellites, you are aware of. You have multiple satellites at different locations and orbits that will help understand your position based on the lat long. Now, this is you will need another ground. If you put another ground reference, then the drone can work with the satellites and a fixed ground reference to give more accurate results. And this fixed ground reference is the base point with the base station. Either it can be a PPK base station or an RTK base station. Now, in an RTK base station, the drone is in continuous conversation with the base station for the coordinates. In a PPK base station, it comes and calibrates. So once the drone takes off, finishes capturing picture, it will come back and then use the coordinates of the post-processing kinematic base station and calibrate its coordinates for greater accuracy. And they are also looking at a camera which is above 20 megapixels for better image resolution, and this is majorly captured during the day. So there, the Survey of India procured 100 drones from Rotor Tech, who are distributors for Quantum Systems, who Quantum Systems manufactures Trinity F90 drones. And these drones are hybrid variants, as I said again. We will see them later. And later they also purchased Idea Forge systems, the Rhino systems made in India. And after that, Ashtir Aerospace got another order of 200 drones. So totally 400 systems with the Survey of India. And after that, they started hiring drone companies to participate as service providers to collect this data as well. And One-Man Systems is a Bangalore-based company that has won 3 tenders for providing drone-based mapping services. It is also estimated that they will be looking to deploy about 2,500 systems in total, according to their plan, to map the entire 6.6 lakh villages in India. Next slide, please. So, how does the entire SVAMITVA scheme look like? Now you have the preliminary activity, then you have the pre-survey, the survey, and the post-survey activities. The preliminary activity is basically the entire program is partially funded by the state government, but run by the Survey of India through their various geospatial data centers located in all states. And after that, they will also have to, the next part is to do village identification and sensitization of gram panchayats or the villages to understand. So you cannot simply go into a village and start flying drones. They will most probably tie you up. But so you will have to tell them why this is being done and what's the benefit for them out of this. And then you'll also have to tell the gram panchayat how it needs to operate. And then the SOPs have to be given. And all of that needs to be taken care of. So that is the preliminary activity, and after that the training is completed, right? Just a moment, hold on. Sorry about that. So after that you have the course site identification. Now what is course? So sorry, one moment. Sorry about that, participants. So next is the identification of course site and the control point provision. So course is basically continuously operating reference stations, is to give the reference points or the base points at each villages for the drone companies to map. And you will also have to go to these. So this is where your pre-survey activities happen. You will need to establish course network. You will have to train the revenue officials at the village to teach them how to demarcate, how to mark the Abadi region, and you will also have to put ground control points so that we can verify the maps accuracy. So the ground control points, basically they're like a chessboard marking, two white and two black, any color it can be. So alternating color squares, you put it on the ground, and you already know the exact location of those GCPs. And when the drone catches these images, you check the the GCP's pictures reference location as well as whatever the actual location of the GCP was, and if it's the same, then you know that map is accurate. So that's why it's important to put the ground control points, and you need to also demarcate the Abadi area to understand whose plot is what, so you can know the clear demarcation where the plot is and all of that stuff. And tuna lines is basically you have the lime powder that you will have to put so that you can mark the edges of your property. So how that is also done is you have the reference stones that are earlier put by Survey of India officials. So you will have to mark accordingly with that. Next, you have survey activity. So you will have the drone survey. The drones will capture the images of the villages after it's been demarcated, and that data is sent for post-processing. Now post-processing, the same images are put into a post-processing software. There are multitudes of softwares for that, and those softwares stitch the photos and create the entire maps of the villages, and those maps are created they are verified for correct accuracy and then corrected if required. And once those maps are obtained, an inquiry process is there to understand. So you can see it's a double arrow. So for verification, you have to go back and inquire if there's some problem and all of that. And once that process is done, you have the generation of final maps and the property data attached with that map. So once that is done, you have a fixed digital record. And post that, you give the certificates to the land owners. So you will also have to train the revenue officials to use this data that is being created, as well as how to help people understand this, the owners of the land understand this data. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at this scheme.
What is a drone survey? In a drone survey, a drone or unmanned aerial vehicle, that is UAV, which captures or collects aerial data with the help of sensors facing downwards. During a drone survey, the ground is photographed several times from different angles, and each image is tagged with coordinates. The exercise involves capturing images through drones, validate these images with the ground data, and then developing them into a high-resolution map. The maps would be used to extract information such as accurate distances or volumetric measurements. Accuracy of satellite images is 30 to 40 centimeters, while drone images are accurate to 5 centimeters. Survey methodology. Boundaries on the ground will be marked after due notice. Standard operating procedures, that is SOP, will be developed for various situations. The survey will be done by drones after securing all due permissions by Survey of India. Data captured through drone survey will be processed by Survey of India. Basing on the data, high-quality maps will be produced. Disputes, if any, will be resolved by the officials of the Revenue Department and Gram Panchayat.
So that's how it's done. These are the 4 companies that have right now won the tender and then are providing drones or services. In the last video, the drone you saw is the Trinity F90 that the Rotor Tech company has been providing. And IdeaForge, AUS, and Asteria. IdeaForge and Asteria provide drones, and AUS is providing services under the scheme. Next slide. So before I go into this, now what is the advantage it has for you to know about this scheme? If you are a group of people, then you can always buy one of these systems and then provide the service to the Survey of India. So that's one business model. Second is, because of these large drone deployments, pilots are in. You need pilots, you need post-processing engineers, you need maintenance engineers, you need battery specialists in large numbers to handle all these systems. And that gives a larger scope for engineers to enter into this domain if you're really interested about drones. And then this is a core domain for aerospace, electronics, mechanical engineering students. And then survey is the core space for civil engineers. So if you're interested in that segment, then this is the right time to be in. And this is not a one-time activity. After 2025, this will most probably be done every once in 3 years, because land keeps changing, right? So whatever activities we do on land keeps changing, and that's another beautiful part about this program. And now, not only this, next might be to map all of the land that is available, and even the forest departments at various states are taking up drones to digitize forest boundaries. So the application or geospatial application of drones is enormous, and it provides a great platform for budding engineers and entrepreneurs to take it up and take it forward. So that's the presentation. And then about my company and why I started this is very small introduction. So in 2019, I started JMA to be able to help other drone companies scale. And we wanted, because there were companies that were manufacturing drones, there were companies that were providing services, but then we wanted to help the ecosystem grow. And that is why I started the organization. Our first project was with Garuda Aerospace, which we transformed in over 9 months period of time. And after that, we've next slide, please. And after that, we've also set up a lot of other facilities for the industry. So one of the major services that we provide is the drone pilot training, where we train pilots and then get them placed in drone companies across the country for industrial and mapping applications. Then we also are an aerospace consultation firm where we help UAV and aerospace companies with skilled manpower, with infrastructure support, test site support, with branding, consultation, market analysis, government liaising, and with investments. So that is our forte as well. And then the core of the entire drone segment is the aero modeling segment. And we have an RC flying field and a UAV test site in Bangalore, which we offer for people who are learning RC flying, and then also to UAV companies to test their drones. So this is what we do in the core of it. Next slide. So this is our advanced drone pilot training course. This is a very interesting program. So a lot of people ask, what's the best way to enter into the drone industry? I say become a drone pilot. The joy of flying, the thrill of the job of traveling all over the planet, and the country, at least at this point of time, all over the country, and being able to work in the most beautiful, serene parts of the country is a thrilling experience. So I've had the opportunity to visit a lot of states even during the lockdown and fly systems. I think you will also would have seen the news where they've used drones for multiple things, from spraying to medicine delivery to surveillance monitoring, temperature monitoring, so on and so forth. So this is a program that we've built with the consultation of the industry to develop efficient, skilled pilots for them. And it's a 25-day program with 20 days of intense training on drones and 5 days of soft skills training, and 50 hours of flying on the simulator. Then we have 15 hours of real-time flying, and we take you through the course as prescribed by the DGCA to get you certified. So this is our program that we offer, one of the main programs. Next slide, please. And this is Flight 100. This is a pet project of mine for those who are interested to start businesses in the drone segment across the globe. So we will take you through all aspects of drones, the app softwares, the product, the business end of it, and from leading experts. And my idea is to build 100 drone startups across the globe, so as to advance the cause of use of drones in various aspects of life. So this is a pet project. If you're interested in any one of that, you can always leave your consent in the feedback form, and then my team will get back to you on that. So that's pretty much it. Next slide, please. And yeah, this is the thing. I think all of you keep this in mind. Hope every day you will see something new, and then you can think of this, and maybe it will also motivate you to build something newer after that. So that next slide, and I think that's the end of the program, and then we can take questions now. You can follow us on all our social media platforms. Another frequent question everybody asks me is, how do we stay up to date with drone tech? Follow us on LinkedIn, Insta, Twitter, and Facebook. And also on YouTube, where we keep posting about the latest drone technology and what's happening in the world of drones in India and across the globe, so that if you're really interested about drones, you can always stay up to date there. In case you have any further queries that you would like to take it outside this webinar, you can always send us a mail or call us on that number, and then we will have your queries clarified. Thank you so much. I would like to thank the management, the principal staff for allowing us to have this webinar. And it was indeed a delight to be talking. I will take questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was such a brainstorming session. I request all the participants to feel free to ask any questions or doubts by unmuting your mics, or you can also put it up in the chat box.
I request the participants to state your name before you ask the question. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Myself, Praveen.
Hi, Praveen. Please tell.
Is this limited to only civil engineering branch, or can can a person from any department can get involved in this work?
In SVAMITVA, anybody can get involved, but I would always say there's some person from civil engineering, if they are there, it's useful because it's majorly to do with GIS and civil engineering. Even if you have somebody from a GIS background, it will help because the tech is separate, but then what the tech has to do needs to be also accurate, and then you need expertise from that location, that side as well.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. Yeah, is it audible?
Yeah, audible.
Sir, Sanjay here. Like, can we have some next webinar or something on tactical drones in future or next year?
Sure. Hope I will. Praveen, please make note of it, and then we can maybe look into having this later, sometime during the year.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Leo, we'll do the
Thank you,
needful.
very helpful. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any more queries from the participant side? So there is a query
Hello,
in
sir.
the chat box.
Yeah, I just saw that. Hello, sir. Myself, Kunal. Can we have an insight about the current drones from Indian companies? I think that's a webinar in itself. So there are a lot of drone companies. I think there are 200 change drone companies right now, and at least 30-40 of them manufacture drones. That's a long list. We have drones for defense, drone for mapping and survey. We have drones for industrial inspection that is being done. I think the largest tender that was won by IdeaForge is for 140 crores for their Switch drone that is being purchased by the Indian Armed Forces. But the list is predominantly in the cinematography, mapping and survey, and industrial inspection drones. Apart from that, we do not have. I have not seen drones with unique capabilities. That is yet to come. We've not seen drones for GPS denied areas that have come at this point of time. It's still taking time. I think it's in development. But other countries have built pretty good systems, and then drone taxis have also already come into picture. Multi-rotor systems which can fly for about 50 minutes will definitely be work for the SVAMITVA project. Any other questions?
So there is a question in the chat box.
What do you say about AI drones? AI drones is the future. It is being pioneered by Skydio in the US, but I'm not being hopeful that pilots will go away, but then it looks like that. In the future, most probably there won't be drone pilots to fly these systems. Most of these systems will become autonomous in nature.
Any more questions? Okay, so assuming that the queries have been acknowledged, Now I request Mr. Irana to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening, all. On behalf of SDMCT family, I, Irana Yavgal, take this opportunity to thank those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar on SVAMITVA, a scheme under Survey of India, a bold step by Indian government. Organized by Jain Aerospace Private Limited in collaboration with SDMCT Dharwad. At the outset, I thank our speaker, Mr. Leo Peters Charles, founder and MD of JMA. It was an enlightening and informative session. A special thanks to Mr. Praveen Vishwanath and JMA team for their support and coordination in organizing this webinar. I also extend my thanks to Dr. Archana Nandibevur for initiating this webinar at our institution. Our sincere thanks to all the participants for their active participation. With these warm words, we move to the end of today's webinar. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Bhageshri.
Thank you, Irana. With all the support and motivation, we hope that all the participants had a good time, and we promise to conduct such events many more in near future. Recording of this webinar is also available on the YouTube. I request all the participants to fill the feedback form. Link is in the chat box. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Cheers.
Thank you.